great to meet you, DJ Juls.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate it.
I've picked you as Africa. Tell us your story, because there's Ghana, there's London.
Yeah. So I was born in the 80s to Ghanaian parents. I was born in East London. You know, Hackney at the time, Clapton to be precise, was a very rough, area. And then my dad got the opportunity to come back home to work in Ghana. So he took all of us there, me and my brother. I went to secondary school in Ghana, did my first degree in Ghana in banking and finance. And then I came back to London to do my master's. I used to hear my dad play all these jazz records by George Washington or Herbie Hancock. But I feel like going to Ghana was when we started sort of discovering different sounds and stuff like that.
Accra, growing up, different sense of how people were consuming music to what you'd known in London?
Yeah. When we moved to Ghana, a lot of music was sold by a lot of vendors. So a lot of the vendors had these cassettes, on the boards, and they were selling, big artists like Kojo Entry, Papa Yanks and, the Western Diamonds, big artists from Ghana. This is how they were getting their music distributed. A lot of high life, traditional guitar licks, soft percussions, and, people singing in the local dialect. And most of these songs talk about life situations, love, broken hearts and whatnot. Pat Thomas, Abel Taylor, who also, did a bit of Afrobeat, but his was more of a Ghanaian vibe. Most of the time, we were hearing our music in like chop bars or like restaurants where, people would just play the cassette. There was nothing like a mix. You just play one full album. When the album was done, take the cassette out, put the next one in. That's basically how it was. So you would practically know a particular artist's album from beginning to end.
What was the music that was getting into your soul that gave you the sort of motivation and excitement to go and make music? When did that happen for you?
It happened quite late. It was probably my third year in uni when I was in Ghana at the time. And I was a big fan of Kanye West and Just Blaze at the time. So I used to download samples that they used and I would try and emulate the sounds that they had done, or Jay Dilla, try and emulate that sound. And then once I was able to do that, I was like, okay, I'm able to do almost the same thing that these guys are doing. How do I move on from that? And so I met a guy called Panji Anoff, who is one of the pioneers or one of the people in Ghana who've really pushed Ghanaian music to different realms of the world. And he said, we should try sampling your own music from home, which is African high life Ghanaian music. So I used to sample a lot of these and then complement them with bass lines and then hard drum kicks. And once I did that, I sort of created a sort of vibe that a lot of people in Ghana weren't really too familiar with. And then when I finished my master's in 2012, that's when I started producing seriously. I just had to think outside the box of how I can go a bit more commercial with my sound to be recognized on a wider scale. And so I started listening to a lot more commercial records and I changed my style to be a bit more minimalistic and blending with different genres that would be a bit more pleasing to the ear.
And did you feel that it was more easy to do that here in London and there was more of an industry to
I feel like it's London where I sort of, built my foundation. I feel like there were no restrictions. A lot of the songs that I've created have been based off, social media and, networking events and stuff. I feel like I've met people in London who've been able to help me push my music a lot more differently. I don't think I would have been able to do that if I was in Ghana, to be honest with you. And that's not downplaying my country at all. I just feel like there are a few things that we are not really up to date with yet. So I've just decided to, stay in London. But my hope And prayer is that with time, as things start to get bigger, I can always go back home and then help.
What would you describe your music as being? Is it part of Afrobeat?
So Afrobeats is a subgenre of Afropop. Afropop is just basically African popular music, African music that's just popular.
Electronic?
No. I'd say, there's so many subgenres under Afropop. We have High Life, which is from Ghana. We have Fuji, which is from Nigeria. We have Soukous, which is from Senegal, Ethiopia, etc., etc. Afrobeats is a blend of all of these genres you've just mentioned, but it just depends on which one is popular at the time. It's a bit more up-tempo and it has a modern touch to it. Now with me, I haven't really put a name on what my sound is, but I like to say that I tap into a lot of these subgenres. I like a little bit of high life in my music. I'm a big fan of the guitar instrument. Hard drums, knocking drums, and sometimes you tap into other genres like Afrobeat, which is originated by Tony Allen and Fela Kuti.
You speak in a way that the sort of legacy artists are important to you to a degree. I mean, they have a big part to play in where we are right now, right?
I feel like it's an evolution. I think it's important that for people like myself and other producers and artists and whatnot, it's always important to go back to your roots to see what the sound was like. Because I won't lie to you, I was listening to Fela today and I was just listening to a lot of the instrumentation and figuring out how I can sort of apply that to my production and stuff like that. It's always good to sort of recreate those sounds and then play it for the modern world. And then you actually tell these people that, look, actually, these ideas stem from Fela Kuti or Abel Taylor or E.T. Mensah. And these are all legends from the 60s and the 70s that a 17, 18-year-old kid would have no clue about. But if you're able to sort of show them those sounds, but in a way that they'll be able to identify with it easily, of course they're going to go back in and, trace their roots and understand what music was about at the time.
Dear Jules, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Mr.
Absolute
Peterson.
pleasure.
It's a pleasure. Take care.